A radio station makes money by advertising on its station. Much like TV audiences, this includes streaming and cable. Radio audiences are the product being sold to advertisers by a radio station. Radio stations can also make extra money from sponsored events and sponsored content. However, technically this is still a form of advertising revenue. In nearly every way a radio station makes money, it is somehow linked to advertising. How does radio make money? Radio has been a popular medium of entertainment and information for decades. But have you ever wondered how radio stations make money? Here, we will explore the various revenue streams that keep radio stations running and how they generate income. 1. Advertising. One of the primary ways radio stations make money is through advertising. Companies pay to have their products or services promoted on the airwaves. Advertisements are aired during commercial breaks, and the revenue generated depends on factors such as the size of the audience and the popularity of the radio station. 2. Sponsorships. Another way radio stations generate income is through sponsorships. Companies may sponsor specific segments or events on the station, such as the weather report or a music concert. In return, the company's name or brand is mentioned in connection with the sponsored content. 3. On-air contests and promotions. Many radio stations run contests and promotions to engage their audience and keep them tuned in. Companies often sponsor these events and provide prizes, boosting their brand visibility. 4. Live events and concerts. Radio stations frequently organize live events and concerts featuring popular artists. They make money through ticket sales, merchandise, and sponsorships. 5. Digital streaming. With the advent of the internet, radio stations have expanded their reach by offering online streaming services. They generate revenue through subscriptions or by selling advertising space on their digital platforms. 6. Syndication. Successful radio shows can be syndicated, meaning they are broadcast on multiple stations across different regions. This allows radio stations to generate income through licensing fees paid by other stations that want to broadcast the popular show. 7. Carriage fees. Some radio stations charge cable and satellite providers a fee to include their station in their package offerings. This provides an additional revenue stream for the radio station. 8. Government funding. In some countries, radio stations receive government funding to support their operations. This funding may come from taxes, licensing fees, or other sources. 1. How much do radio stations make from advertising? The revenue generated from advertising varies greatly depending on factors such as the size of the audience, location, and popularity of the station. It can range from a few $1,000s to millions of dollars annually. 2. Do radio stations pay royalties for playing music? Yes, radio stations typically pay royalties to artists and copyright holders for playing their music. These royalties are usually managed by performing rights organizations. 3. Can individuals buy airtime on a radio station? Yes, individuals or businesses can purchase airtime on a radio station to promote their products or services. This is commonly known as infomercial or paid programming. 4. Are radio stations profitable? Radio stations can be profitable if they effectively manage their revenue streams and control their expenses. However, profitability varies depending on the market, competition, and other factors. 5. How do radio stations measure their audience? Radio stations use various methods to measure their audience, such as surveys, listener diaries, and electronic measurement devices. These methods help determine the station's popularity and audience demographics. 6. Can radio stations survive without advertising? While advertising is a significant revenue stream for radio stations, they can survive through other means such as sponsorships, syndication, and government funding. However, advertising remains a vital source of income for most stations. 7. How do radio stations choose which songs to play? Radio stations use market research, listener feedback, and music charts to determine which songs to play. They aim to strike a balance between popular hits and new releases, tailored to their target audience. 8. Are there non-profit radio stations? Yes, there are non-profit radio stations that operate with a mission to serve the community rather than generating profits. These stations often rely on donations, grants, and volunteers to sustain their operations. Even the largest commercial stations will rarely have advertising clients beating down the door. Instead, they employ teams of salespersons to spend all day telephoning potential clients and persuading them to advertise. A community radio station is unlikely to have that resource. That means you need to find advertisers in other ways. You might want to encourage every member of staff, volunteer, and supporter of the station to be constantly on the lookout for potential advertisers. Whenever anyone is talking to a local business person or trader, the question, "So who do you advertise with at the moment?" should come up. Some people are better, or more shameless, than others at doing this, but everyone can be involved. Network at gatherings of local businesses and keeping close links with business umbrella groups. Prepare a well-designed media pack containing information about the station, your ideals, your listeners, and the advertising packages and rates you offer. Include an audio CD with examples of your advertising. If any potential client shows an interest, get it to them the next day. Use your advertising spots to attract more advertisers. You are listening to this, so are your customers type of ad. Offer free or discount trials for first-time customers until you prove your effectiveness. Consider advertising partnerships with any local community newspapers or other community media. Different advertisers will have different needs, different requirements, and different expectations. Some may employ marketing professionals who know more than you about the process and jargon of media advertising. Others may be sole traders who have never advertised anywhere before and need to be guided through every step. All of them will wish to be dealt with in a professional and business-like manner. Our initial dealings with advertisers will set the tone of your relationship, so make sure you are in control. Go in with a checklist or questionnaire to nail down your brief as to what the client actually wants. What message do they want to convey? Who are their target audience? What tone do they want? Humorous, friendly, urgent, authoritative? The answers to these questions will form your creative brief. That will then go to your production team, perhaps trained volunteers, who will create one or more scripts or dummy ads for the client's approval, with any changes they may feel are necessary. It is worth being clear about how much time and how many resources will be put into creating their advert. You will not be able to spend weeks with one client as they continually change their mind or grumble about tiny details. As you develop a professional relationship with your client, they will tell you about the effectiveness of the ad and their satisfaction with it. It is worth following up your advertising contracts with a short questionnaire. If your client is delighted with the effectiveness of the advertising, you can use that to woo future clients. If they are less delighted, you can use that knowledge to examine where you went wrong and improve your performance. Both you and your client must have realistic expectations, and understand that adverts are rarely instantly effective. It is widely assumed that listeners must encounter an advert at least 6 times before they notice it. It may then take several more encounters before they act upon what they hear. Advertisers often find it is the second or third week of broadcast before they notice the effects of their effort, but that those effects can last much longer than the advertising period. Your clients are unlikely to be recruiting advertising agencies to create a perfect 30-second work of persuasive art. More probably they will want and need you to make, or help to make, the ad for them. If you create adverts that are dull and ineffective, you are unlikely to generate the kind of testimonials and word-of-mouth recommendations that you will need to attract future clients. An advert with the wow factor will do wonders for your client relationship. If there is no one at the station with experience of marketing and advertising, it would be worth someone putting in some time with reference books and research. In planning an advertisement, very often your role will be to imagine yourself in the role of the listener. Your client may have a long list of things he would like to convey. You may have to explain that often less is more, and that listeners really don't care that the local baker has a new 5,000-watt mega oven that is his pride and joy. They want to know the bread tastes good. The most widely accepted model of effective advertising is the AIDA model. Attention, interest, desire, action. In other words, you must first make the listener aware of the product or service, then make them interested in what you are saying, then make them actually want that product or service, then make them do something about it, visit the shop or phone the number. That's a lot to achieve in 30 seconds, but if you look at advertisements in any medium, from radio to TV to billboards, it is possible to see the same strategy underpinning many very different ads. Grants are the principal source of income for most community radio stations. There is an endless list of trusts, charities, local, regional, national and European government pots, and innumerable other funders who may be willing to grant you small or large amounts in return for agreed outcomes. They range from the enormously wealthy and powerful European Social Fund, Lottery Commission, to small local memorial trusts. It is one thing to know that the money is out there. It is another to identify precise grants that may be available to you and persuading the funder to give you the money. Good fundraisers develop an intuitive sense for where money might be available. The process of identifying and applying for funding can be so time-consuming that you could spend every minute of the working day doing it, so it is crucial that you are smart about identifying which grants are worth applying for. As a general rule, you are unlikely to find many funders that will pay you to make community radio, but you will find funds that will pay you to do many of the things you need to do in order to make community radio: training, community development, youth work, tackling joblessness, etc., etc. Such funding should include a contribution towards staff salaries and other overheads. Most of your activities should be highly appropriate for grant funding, and if they are not, you should really ask yourself some questions about the nature of your activities. Visit your local voluntary sector umbrella group. They should have someone who advises on fundraising who will talk you through your options. Think about how you could tailor your activities to make them more attractive to funders. Network with/talk to individuals involved in awarding grants and funding. Talk to the liaison or outreach workers employed by larger funding bodies. It is their job to find people to give money to, and they will be delighted to explain how your project could fit into their funding criteria. A radio station is a fantastic commercial resource. There are businesses and agencies who may want to use it, and providing that doesn't interfere with your core functions as a community radio station, you can exploit that for commercial gain. Some of the ways that you can earn additional revenue include audio products. Whether as content for a website, a soundtrack for promotional video, or as a self-contained audio product. Corporate events. Many companies have away days where employees are given the opportunity to learn Tai Chi, go paintballing, or indulge whatever whim the managing director has dreamt up this month. Learning to make a radio show is an appealing activity for such occasions, and with so many transferable skills involved, a useful one too. Needless to say, such ventures can be extremely lucrative for the station but time-consuming also. Studio and equipment hire. If you have spare capacity in any area, for example a training studio that lies empty for 2 days a week, or IT equipment that is needed while training is in progress but sits idly at other times, put them to work. Offer your facilities to other community groups at friendly rates, and to businesses at commercial rates. As with all commercial activities, it is crucial that in pursuing extra money you do not lose sight of your purpose as a community radio station. If your volunteers are complaining that they can't prepare their show because the studio is being used to make a corporate CD, then you have a problem. Your staff will be paid to do many things, but their job description is unlikely to include babysitting a team of chartered accountants on a team building away day. All these activities must be conducted to make you a better community station, not a richer one. Anyone involved in running a community radio station will spend a frightening amount of time thinking about money. It is easy to forget that there are other ways in which you can seek support beyond funding. There are all sorts of organizations who may not have any spare money to give you, but are willing to help in other ways. Much of this is simple bartering and contra deals. Your local paint shop might give you a few gallons of paint for your redecoration, in return for a friendly mention on air, or simply because it is taking up space in the yard and they need to get rid of it. Sometimes commitment to corporate social responsibility, CSR, will be expressed through cash donations, but not often. Much more commonly, companies will offer their own facilities or resources to help community projects. Among the many ways CSR may be manifested are loan or donation of facilities and equipment, IT facilities, meeting rooms, furniture, stationery, audio equipment. Whatever you might need, there is a chance that there is a company nearby who may be willing to spare you what you need, for a brief period or even for keeps. Secondment. There are many companies who have large teams of professional staff, any of whom would be incredibly useful to a community radio station. Legal firms, accountancy firms, marketing and advertising companies, IT firms, etc. Even the BBC and commercial radio stations may be prepared to lend you an experienced staff member. If you can persuade one of these companies to let you borrow a member of staff for a few weeks, the value to your station could be immense, while the staff member on secondment might gain valuable experience in a different setting and gain a whole new perspective on their work. Company volunteer days. Some companies will persuade their employees to give up a day or two of their time to work on a voluntary project, for example a barn building project such as redecorating a community radio station or conducting some kind of sponsored activity for your benefit. Thank you for watching this video.